How's it going, everyone? Happy New Year's and happy holidays. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Marco, and I've been shooting these videos showing my journey in joining the California Army National Guard, particularly in the OCS program. I made a few videos already about enlisting all the way to entering BCT graduation, where I graduated December 19th of 2022. And now, I'm pretty much unraveling stuff like my packing list and stuff like that. And now I'm in the process of going into OCS. And I have gotten a few comments, asking me how BCT was, and particularly, not only BCT, but how it was, with your platoon and being in the Bay. So overall, my experience, and apparently everyone's experience, will be completely different. Every boot camp BCT is going to be completely different. So these videos are for my experience and my experience only. So don't ever think that they're all going to be the same. They're all going to be, the boot camps alone are going to be pretty similar at least, but obviously different personalities, different people, different individuals are going to be at your boot camp, your class dates and everything is going to be completely different. So I've had, people ask me, how was it, being in the Bay? Was there any drama? Was there any argument? Stuff like that. So overall, like I said, I was the one in charge of my Bay. I was the Bay leader since day 0, what they call in BCT. I was Bay leader all the way through until graduation. And for me, obviously, I don't know how I got picked. The drill sergeants just automatically picked me day 0, right when we were about to go to bed. They called my name. I entered what they called the kill zone, or our workout room for our personal time. And I had my senior drill sergeant and another drill sergeant, which was 2, call my name, had me saying that I was going to be the Bay leader, and pretty much whatever I had said would be going on throughout the process. I thought I was going to be getting what they call fired or something, but apparently I did my job correctly throughout the whole entire process. So it went well, and for me, it wouldn't probably have gone as well if I did not have the guys that I had in my Bay. So the way it works is when you're doing your regular BCT training, you are co-ed. You're in 4 different platoons. You will be training with males and females. While you're in a Bay, the Bay is your personal time. That's pretty much your living arrangement in a sense, but that's all going to be separated from males and females. So females have their own bays and males have their own bays. At my battalion, we had 3 male bays and 2 female bays, so a total of 5 bays. It felt more like a dorm, a huge dorm area, if you would like to say. And 2nd, 3rd, and 4th platoon had their own bay for males, and all the males in 1st platoon were divided within those three bays. So I had a total of 10 additional males from 1st platoon in my bay. So we were a total of about 45 when we had first started, and by the time graduation came, we were 41. That dealt with people either quitting, dropping, and of course some people that ended up getting in trouble, they got kicked out of their bay and sent to my bay. And the way it works is, obviously the bay is your living situation. You have your bunks. Everyone has a twin bunk. You will also have your own locker for your equipment, your gear, your uniform, all that stuff. Everything must be locked, and if it's not locked and the drill sergeant walks in, I gave you the warning, because they will grab all your stuff out and throw it out. So just be mindful about that. I got lucky because about 90% of the time while I was in the bay, not out of the bay. When I was out on the field, my lockers were always locked. While I was in the bay, my lockers were typically always unlocked, and the majority of the time my locker was also open. So I was always grateful that nothing was ever tampered with, or none of the drill sergeants ever took my stuff out, because no one ever walked in. That's just the luck of the draw. So just be mindful about that. If a drill sergeant walks in, let alone at night while you're sleeping, and you left your locker unlocked, you will be picking up all your stuff, because they will grab all your stuff, and I mean everything, and just throw it out, and it'll be laying all around the floor of your bay, and you will have to pick it up, throw everything back in, and be able to organize it when you have your free time again. Which this leads back to, for me, I was able to pretty much leave it unlocked and my locker wide open majority of the time. And this brings it back where my bay was just phenomenal. Like, we had no signs of any type of people stealing things. I was comfortable leaving my stuff unlocked and open, and nobody will ever steal nothing. And like I said, even though everything's labeled, people do steal stuff anyways. But in my bay, it was phenomenal. Like, if it wasn't for the guys that I had, it probably wouldn't have been the great experience. I was to the point where, as not only as a bay leader, but even before as a PG, I would literally grab all the stuff that we needed for like a ruck or something that we were gonna do, such as an item list. I would take all my stuff out, and the reason I would take my stuff out would be because they will only give us about maybe 5 sheets showing the list, and we're a total of 30 guys in one platoon, and 5 sheets is not enough. So instead of passing it around, I would make sure I would grab one. If not, somebody would give me one, and that's why it was so easy and smoothly for not only me, but my platoon and my bay. So they would give me a list. I would go item for item, grab everything out from my locker, and put it literally on the ground in front of my bunk. So that way, if anyone needed to see it and they didn't have a list, that way we're not stalling, and everyone could just come, grab whatever they need, look at my stuff. They could pick it up, especially when it came to the camouflage, showing that this is the wet camo uniform that we need. This is the some other type of camo that we need. That way they knew what it was. So I would leave it laid out for everyone to come, see it, grab it, see, okay, yeah, this is texture. They would literally leave it there, go back to their locker, grab what they needed, and they would be able to pack it. I would literally have it out for about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on our free time. And everyone was able to get their stuff ready, and then that was it. I never had no issue. None of my stuff, it was laid out for them. None of my stuff ever got stolen. Did it get touched? Of course, because they were seeing it, but it never got stolen. We're all males. There's a lot of snoring going on. I know I got asked about that. If you're a snorer, by all means, you're not going to be the only one. There's a lot of people, especially by the time you graduate, almost the majority of people are tired, so you will be snoring. Just like I said, it just depends on your platoon, on how you guys interact with each other. For us, we had one guy that, he's the loudest snorer, and, did we make fun of him? Yeah, but he was a good sport about it. He knew about it. And we just always made fun of each other. Like, it wasn't just, everyone on him. He would join in, make fun of himself, and, we would make fun of each other, and it would just go on. And that's the bond that we had with pretty much almost all of us. I can't say everyone, because, of course you will have your individuals that either one, they don't want to be a part of, a group or, a friendship or team. And then there was others that, at the same time, we kind of isolated them because they weren't going through the same experiences that we were. And what I mean about that is, we had 10 guys from first platoon, which, you know, we were still pretty close to them. But, you know, when you have your own platoon, you're closer to them because you're with them pretty much throughout the day, including at night. And while you're going out on the field, you know, you'll experience it while you're there. You'll have what we call SIG call rangers. And for us, it was a drag because a lot of times these people that would go to SIG call would be there on a daily basis. We were surprised that certain people actually graduated because they really didn't experience everything, and I mean everything that we did throughout our process in BCT. So we kind of isolated them out because we never saw them. The only time we really saw them was, you know, at night when they came back from SIG call. So that's the only time. And, you know, when you don't see them from time to time, you know, you don't really know who they are or how their personality is and stuff like that. So I'll make a completely different video on that because SIG call rangers is the main thing. It is a big deal. I know a lot of people, you know, dislike it, and, you know, they have a lot of different opinions on that, but I will make a different video on that. Just promise me, you guys or whoever's watching this, please do not be a SIG call ranger. Doesn't look good at all, let alone for, you know, your reputation. That's what in any pretty much career, that's what's going to be looked at. So that's a different video. If you want me to go more into detail on, you know, what it entails also, or if you have any questions on it, drop your comment. I'll get back to you on it, but I'll make a different video on the SIG call ranger. But yeah, back to, you know, the Bay. You know, none of my stuff got stolen. Were there conflicts? Absolutely. I'm not gonna say it was, you know, la la land and, you know, everything was completely perfect. No. It's like, you know, you growing up with your family, you're gonna have arguments. You're gonna have, you know, things back and forth where you're clashing with each other. Let alone we were a total of 40 males, 10 from a different platoon. So sometimes, you know, the way the Bay had to be done was certainly differently than, you know, when we had to do platoon things. Because if we were doing platoon things, now those 10 from first platoon are on their own, and we're by ourselves for the 30 males. But when it came to the Bay, we had to kind of see what we needed and what we had to work together to make sure that the Bay was clean, make sure everything was being done proper. So that way we were not going to get, you know, smoked in a sense throughout our process. So it worked out very well. Bunks were always being made every day. So there was conflict, but there was never any drama. Obviously, you know, one person wants to do one thing, the other person wants to do another thing. This is where, you know, you have to come in. At the, you know, at the end, you know, for me, I did have one assistant from one of the guys from first platoon. And at the end, you know, if no one was able to come to an agreement, obviously it would come down to me. They would tell me what's going on. And then I wouldn't make just the final determination. I would bring it up to my assistant and go, all right, so we got this, this, and this. If it was something that, you know, was going to be squashed right there, I would make the call. I didn't care. But when it came to something that, you know, it was going to impact the Bay, no, I was gonna bring it up to my assistant, and then we would talk about it. Hey, what do you think about this? I plan on going this route. What do you plan? Do you plan on the other route or this route? And once we came to our agreement, that was set in stone. It was not gonna change. It was gonna be our way, and then, you know, the Bay was gonna be happy with it, and it worked out well. The Bay, you know, agreed with our arrangement. They had an agreement. It would come to myself. And then if it was something that was going to impact the whole Bay, obviously my assistant and I were going to talk about it. And then that's what the final say was going to be. And the Bay was fine with it. So that's what I mean. For me, it was a great experience. If it wasn't for them, you know, it could have been even worse. You know, because overall, I know I heard a lot of, horror stories back in the days, or even still till today, where people are just clashing together, arguing, and that could have been my experience. But I did have the support of not only the 29 males from my platoon, but I also had the support from the other 10 guys from the first platoon. So it worked out very well for us, let alone for me. But I did hear, overall, I can say, and pretty much I know a lot of people from my bay, if they're watching this, they would easily vouch for it, that we had the closest bond together. We had the least amount of conflicts, let alone we were the ones that never got in trouble compared to, the other 2 male bays and the other 2 female bays. Apparently, those bays were just, for the most part, I can't say horrible, but I can say one of the worst bays was apparently the 3rd platoon males bay, and they also had the 3rd male platoons, and they also had, I believe, about 10 first platoon males in their bay as well. It was around 10, I would say. And they apparently were known as the worst, not only the worst platoon, 3rd platoon, but also they were known as the worst bay. They ended up getting caught with, graffitiing their bay, where even it led up to the captain getting involved, and they ended up getting their phone taken away for a weekend. They also had a lot of conflicts. They had a lot of drama. They had a lot of thefts going on. So that was a big thing. And I saw there, a lot of members of their bay. I could not imagine being in that bay. That was one of the worst things. I think if I was in that bay, I don't know how I would have survived. I think I would have, my head would have burst or something. But continuing, I heard about the 2nd male bay. They didn't have that much drama like third bay, but that bay also, I had a good friend. I had multiple friends there, but one of my good friends from reception, he went over there, and he said that there was a little bit of drama, but most of the things that they had, most of the issues that they had, was a lot of thefts. So they were stealing from each other. And I heard that from multiple people in that bay. So it just, it is what it is. I can't really speak for it, Then it comes to the females. Females were, you put 20 plus females in one bay, and then the other bay, you got two female bays that have 20 plus females. We heard there was a lot of drama there. I can't speak for that, but it was nonstop drama for them. According to the drill sergeants, their bays were usually dirty, especially in the bathrooms. So just make sure your bays are clean, and leave the drama alone. That way, you're not getting in trouble, because when there's conflicts such as, when it gets to a point where it's either to the extent of someone is going to get in trouble, they're going to separate you, where you either are going to get kicked out of that bay and then move to a different bay, or you'll get kicked out of the company and move to a different company. And the worst part is they can also kick you out of the military. They can, for disorderly conduct, they can automatically kick you out. So just be mindful. Try to keep the drama to a minimum. I know, I believe every bay had at least one person that either got kicked out of the military. Yes, there were people that did get kicked out of the military because, for some reason they did not belong, because their discipline was just horrible. People got kicked out of their bay, and somehow they ended up in my bay. I ended up with 2 people that got kicked out of their bays, and then they ended up in my bay. So I ended up getting, I guess if you want to call it troublemakers, but when they were in my bay, for the most part, it was, it wasn't going to go their way. We didn't know how they acted on their bay, but that's what I mean. When they ended up in our bay, we still, as the ones that were there initially, we agreed that it wasn't going to go, and this person was going to say, no, this is what I'm doing. It was going to go our way, and then that person was going to follow us. And obviously they got kicked out for a reason. So you see, we came together and we're like, no, they're not going to disrupt or mess up what we have in our bay. Then we had another one from the females bay where she got kicked out of our company and went to a different company. And then she graduated with that company. So you see, that's what I mean. Like, just things like that do, unravel throughout the time. You're there for 10 weeks. There is going to be some hostility, and, there has to be someone that's going to be willing to say, hey, we got to calm down. Obviously you're going to start building these tensions within each other because someone's messing up, and then, you're going to get smoked for it. For me, I know I did get mad a couple times. I can mention a few times, but mainly the reason I got mad was because we would get in trouble for people that were known as sick call rangers, or were not really, involved in our process throughout the time, because they were always saying that they were injured somehow, and they would put them on profile. And like I mentioned, that'll be a different video. That was my anger that I got. It wasn't towards anyone in general, because, people are going to be making mistakes. It's fully understandable. But when we're getting smoked and we're getting in trouble for somebody that is never there, or not doing the same things that we're doing, such as dragging our head across the dirt or across a pit, that's where, it's unacceptable for me, because I find it really unfair in a sense. But like I said, that's completely off. But overall, like I said, I had a great platoon, and then I had a great bay. But like I said, it's all going to be different. It's all different. My experience is not going to be your experience, and your experience is not my experience. But if your platoon and your bay were, phenomenal, drop your comment. If you were in one of those platoons or one of those bays where you dealt with a lot of drama, you know what I mean. And if you're comfortable letting people know, please drop your comment. These are the things that I heard, and obviously I did witness it when they, like 3rd platoon, they got their phones taken away. And the rumor was they were graffitiing, and they were also, in that stage where they were fighting. But overall, like in my bay, it was phenomenal. We only did have one person that was known as, the snitch. For some reason, he would end up misplacing something, start blaming people that someone stole his stuff, and would quickly go to a drill sergeant. And then when the drill sergeant came up, somehow and miraculously his item appeared. I believe it was also, due to his personality and him going and snitching for every single little thing, caused him to, not even our platoon, it was just mainly his platoon that would, just in a sense joke around with them or mess around with his stuff. And when you're known as that person, a lot of people are going to mess with that person. It's the way it is. And his platoon would mess around with them, and he would get mad about it. But then he would take it out on not only his platoon, but since he was in our bay, he would go and snitch. And then now my platoon, my 30 males from my platoon are now getting in trouble because he's over there snitching on his platoon. But it's not just his platoon in that bay. Let alone, you got males from other platoons that, walk through our bays. It's like a complete maze. If you want me to go more into details on how our bays work, feel free to let me know. I'll be glad to explain it more, but it is somewhat complicated. But other than that, like I said, we did have one person that was snitch. We had numerous people that were known as sick callers, or those on profile for pretty much BCT. So they were really known as, they weren't really liked as much. And then, we have people that were just individuals. They just didn't want to be a part of the group. They just wanted to be by themselves, isolate themselves. So they didn't want anything to do with anybody. So, you got certain people like that. But if you're willing to open up, like for me, my guys knew that, I would listen to everyone. It wasn't going to just go my way. It was going to go what I believe was going to be beneficial for the bay. There is multiple ways of doing things, and that's what a lot of people need to, learn. So it just works out that way. But like I said, if you feel comfortable talking about your great experience or even your horrible experience, feel free to drop it down below and let everyone know. But other than that, guys, like I said, just be open, be mindful. That way you guys have a great connection and a great bond, and you guys can carry that throughout your military career. And if you guys are even getting closer, you'll carry that on even after your military career. You'll build great relationships here, and it's just you putting yourself out there, and that's the way it's going to work. All right. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time.